Are you ready to eliminate your credit card processing fees? Visit www.pairpayments.com and use code JAKE for a $250 Visa gift card when you join today.
This is the Inspection Pros Podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join host Jake as we get insider knowledge from the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros Podcast, your favorite business building podcast for the home inspection industry. And today I'm very excited to have with me Patton and MaryCameron from GoodBull Content. So Patton, MaryCameron, welcome. It's very nice to have you here today.
Thanks
so much, Jake. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited as well because I love what you guys are doing in the home inspection industry. A totally new take on content and stuff that just feels fresh, feels cool, and is very interesting. And so I'm very excited to get to know you a little bit both on the podcast today and talk about what it is you're doing in the industry, what's changing, and what people can really take into their business to help them grow. So, Patton, I'll start with you first. On your website, which is goodbull.io, www.goodbull.io, it calls you a content creator, but I know you're much more than that. So can you give us a little description of what is it that GoodBull does for the home inspection industry? And then we're going to get into your origin story. But just so everyone knows, I want to know, what is it that GoodBull does?
Yeah, so basically, most people in this day and age know that implementing video content into your growth strategy is like a game changer. Mm-hmm. But it's also, if you hire it out, it's super expensive, or if you try doing it yourself, it's confusing and there's a lot to learn and it's just an overwhelming task. So a lot of times, specifically what we've seen in the home inspection industry is people just don't do it. Or if they do it, they're not utilizing it to its fullest potential. So basically what we've done is we've created a membership that walks inspection companies from wherever they are today to being a content powerhouse, producing video content for social media, websites, emails, internal use, all these different avenues with really the intent of growing their company in a scalable, more cost-effective way, and also just in like a more fun way. We're big believers in the idea that producing video content shouldn't be this like stressful thing where you're like, oh gosh, and then like, what are we gonna do with this video? And did I just waste my whole day and all this stuff? It should be like total blast where like you're getting together at the end of the day, like, oh my gosh, look at this blooper from our shoot today, and like, oh, when are we doing our next video shoot? And like, people should be excited to do it. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to get to.
Absolutely. And I feel that. Whenever I see GoodBull videos pop up on my feed, I always stop to watch, Patton, because they're so interesting. And in a world where there's an oversaturation of videos and everyone's fighting for your attention, it's really hard to get people to stop and watch videos. So if you can be, different, fun, engaging, all those adjectives, then you're going to stop someone and get their attention. And so I love that approach. And one thing that I really want to get into now is your origin story. How did you get into this space, the home inspection space? Both of you, Patton and MaryCameron. What got you thinking, hey, let's do this kind of media, this really great production value stuff that looks awesome, feels awesome? Why in home inspection?
Yeah, so I kind of just stumbled into it. I, maybe 5 years ago or so, started working with a startup company. And this startup company worked closely with IEB, which is Inspector Empire Builder. And so I was producing a lot of content for them and getting to know Greg Bryan, who's like the big dog at IEB, and just like really the whole community. And this was back when, now I don't know how many members they have, like 300-400 members or something. At the time it was like, I don't know, I feel like there was like 30 people. Like it was tiny, and they just met at Greg Bryan's office, and it was like a super cool, like wholesome group of people, and like honestly just took a real liking to them, and like their sense of humor and the way they could banter, and like the way that they were most of them start off as like these small family businesses, and now they're like growing into something that many of them didn't even intend to do at the beginning. It was kind of like, oh, here's a cool side hustle, and now they're like, whoa, this could actually be something like a lot bigger. And so seeing these people who are kind of like exploring this new beast and doing stuff that they never intended to do, but doing it actually like pretty damn good and like building some pretty cool companies. And so, yeah, kind of spent some time around that community for several years, and got to work with some of the bigger companies. But that was when I really like became aware of like, hey, lots of these smaller companies, like I was saying earlier, really aren't able to implement video content. And so that was really like a combo of seeing, hey, there's a huge need for this in the inspection industry, as well as honestly just really like the people. And so, it
And
felt,
I can tell.
yeah.
Sorry to
And
interrupt.
MaryCameron just got roped in through me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It was
we
more of a
have to talk-
draft.
You got drafted. You were
I got
prescribed.
drafted. Yeah.
So
Patton is really convincing to join any of his efforts.
So I have to know, did he make a video to recruit you, or what was the recruitment process?
Honestly, now that you're asking if he did a video, I feel disappointed. I don't feel like you worked hard enough to get me on his team. So Patton, I'm expecting maybe my 2023 recruitment to up your game a little bit. So Patton and I actually have a very interesting story intersection. I babysat Patton years ago, and before you think that I am in my late 40s, I actually started babysitting Patton. I think I was 10, and Patton was like 4. And what his parents would say is they were in ministry, and I was a cheap babysitter because I was kind of a BOGO deal. I brought my 11-year-old friend, and so and with our combined age of 21, we really were enough to take care of Patton, and then subsequently take care of his siblings. So
It seemed to work.
It seemed to work well. I think that his post-traumatic stress counseling from has been effective. Has been really effective.
I have to know: are his parents still paying you?
God, I wish. Honestly, I would love to be their 1099 employee. They're not still paying me. His mom, I was homeschooled for a bit. His mom was my PE teacher, so I'd work out with her at 24 Hour Fitness, and she'd teach me about celebrity gossip and The Bachelor. So honestly, that education was payment, a lifetime of payment enough.
So Patton had mentioned IEB, and that's where I met Patton, and I saw his video content, and I talked to Patton, and you had this whole great setup at IEB, and I was so impressed, and that is where we actually got to start talking about the podcast and all that. And Patton, I just thought it would be so valuable to have you on this podcast, of course, to share, a lot about what home inspectors can do in the industry. And MaryCameron, I know you're the growth director at GoodBull, so I know you'll have a great take on this as well. But I'm curious to know, being that you focus on this industry, right? And you both don't come from a home inspector background, right? So from your perspective, what is the status quo of content in the industry? What are people doing now that maybe they shouldn't be doing or should be doing?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love that I'm seeing a lot of out there is a lot of inspection companies like really leaning into humor, especially like on social media, because such a powerful use for video content is to kind of foster and nurture relationships with realtors and potential buyers and stuff. And so, like me and my wife, she's our social media person at GoodBull, and we were just talking the other day about like one of the accounts we love, Jamie Dunsing. I think he might be in, where is he? Maybe Boston? I don't know. Somewhere up top.
Somewhere north
America. Yeah, and like they do this, like, I think it's called Funny Friday, and they get on and they like tell like a dad joke, and it's like just the real like cringy thing where you kind of sit there for a second, you're like, wait, is that funny? You're like, okay, no, that's actually hilarious. I'm gonna steal that. But like, it makes you think about their company like throughout your day. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of excited to see Jamie's dad joke this Friday, or you're cracking about the one from last Friday. And I think that's such a powerful tool for not always relying on just like, oh, I have to take a realtor out to lunch and spend a half day and buy their lunch. Like, no, make a funny video and you can kind of create relationships with like thousands of realtors and just being like very personable and not being uptight. And yeah, it just feels very like, I like that guy. If you can get to where people like you based on your videos, then like you're going to see returns from that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And MaryCameron, have you been to events in the home inspection?
I have not. Unfortunately, I recently made a move away from Houston, and so wasn't able to join kind of this last IEB event. I would love to go to one in the future. Heard the home inspectors. They are great. Just a great bunch of people. So I'd love to, and super fun. I'd love to get to know them. I think that like kind of building off of what Patton was saying. Yeah. I think we're marketing and growth for a company is really we're in a stop your scroll type strategy movement, right? And so whereas just like Patton said, you could have one lunch with someone every day and your growth is going to be very limited. But now with social media, and like you can reach so many people, and I think that what stops people's scrolls is quality, humor, and some type of like teaching, right? Like I think that all of us have messed up our Instagram algorithms by like seeing like those random posts that you're like, oh my gosh, that's really funny and interesting, and then you see a billion of them. So I think Patton is exceptionally talented at creating content like that. And I think the home inspection industry is something that has a lot of really great opportunities for content. I mean, you're going into like, I can't imagine the stories that each individual home inspector has of the type of houses they've gone into, the types of things that they've encountered. Like, you really have endless amounts of things that you can post about, things that you can kind of show. And I think that I think that creates a really great opportunity for marketing and growth.
Oh my God. There are some people that we've had as guests on the show that kill it in that's exactly what you're talking about, in that space of, hey, here's some crazy stuff that I just saw in my last inspection. They post it, gets a ton of engagement. That stuff's great. And Patton, I don't want to steal this line from you, but can you speak to what you told me off air the other day about their job kind of being on like a set?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like so much material throughout an inspection, which I don't even think I realized it until I went to film a video with an inspector one day, and so I was following them around, and I was planning on shooting like 2 minutes worth of videos. Just be like, hey, how'd you get into the inspection industry? And that's it. And I was there for the full 4 hours, like capturing gold the entire time. And this was just like your standard inspection. It wasn't like we were at this crazy house or anything. And it's like just everything in that location is like interesting to look at. Like you're in a new place every time. You've got like actual stuff to talk about, as opposed to being in an industry where you're having to like I'm honestly jealous of inspectors, because I have to like, when I make a YouTube video or something, I'm having to like come up with these ideas and create kind of like, oh, I have to make sure like my office looks good and all this stuff, where it's like it's all just there for them. They just need to like know when to pull out their phone and what to point it at. So yeah, honestly super jealous.
Yeah. So not only is the whole set already staged for them, but all you need these days is a cell phone. The barrier to entry is so low for this content.
Yeah.
So do you see enough people using that, and will it get to the point where, hey, that kind of content's oversaturated in home inspection and maybe we need to take it to the next level? Or is that something that will always be viable?
Yeah, so I think that is... So obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize video content. I think specifically for social media, like phones are such a great option, because for one thing, like the quality nowadays is like you almost can't tell the difference between what's shot on a phone and what's shot on like a legit DSLR. And so, but on top of that, you're not worried about like, oh, are my camera settings right? And is my white balance off? And all this stuff. Like your phone's doing all that. So you just get to focus on like capturing good material. which on social media is what's important. It's not about having like the craziest, like most perfectly lit shot in the world. It's about like having something that people watch a video and like, oh, that's interesting. Next time I see this guy's face, I'm going to stop and watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the phone game is the future for social media content, period.
Yeah. Because even, I mean, now you have like film, movies that are like winning awards were shot on an iPhone. And I think part of the, there's some nuance with that. And I think there's some like, okay, can we do this? Can we kind of stretch ourselves and shoot an entire kind of feature film on an iPhone? And that just shows the capabilities of what we all carry around in our pocket. And so how much more, how much more can the average home inspector get that type of content and have it be high quality, have it be really intentional, and have it be really fun? And so I think we're all carrying around like this amazing tool for marketing and growth for so many companies.
Yeah. I want to add to that real quick, because you do see a ton of like the one-man shops out there who are like just like it's their job to grow the company, and they're out there in the field doing inspections. A lot of them are already pulling out their phones and filming stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as the stuff that I've seen them post, like I've really yet to come across a video on Facebook or Instagram that an inspector posts and I'm like not interested with what's going on. I think inspectors kind of like underestimate how interesting their content is, and even just how interesting they are as people and stuff, because they're like, I mean, that's just who they are and that's what their day is. But it's like, it's all great stuff. And so specifically for like the larger companies, obviously the inspectors aren't as inclined to pull out their phone and start partaking in any kind of growth activity, because they're like, I'm not hired to do that. But that's kind of where like having a good system in place for like saying, hey, you're going to pull out your phone for 20 seconds next week and you're going to point it at a house, and that's all you have to do. And so you really take like the decision making and all that stuff out of it so that they can kind of just like do their thing. But it's definitely been proven to be successful and interesting by the one-man shops out there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned a system. Is that something that you at GoodBull help these the home inspectors with? Is setting up that system that they can plug this content into?
Yeah, big time. So one of the most difficult things about getting into video content, like implementing content into your growth strategy, is not like even learning how to shoot the videos, but how to like, hey, how do we make sure we're consistently getting good content and consistently getting that in the right place on social media at the right time?
Yeah.
And so lots of it really is the strategy behind it that ends up being the make or break. So we obviously cover the entire spectrum. We're going to teach you how to shoot a video, but I think without having the proper systems in place, honestly, we didn't even intend to do that when we started creating these courses. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to teach people how to do this just to go watch them like fall flat on their ass because I didn't teach them how to do this. So honestly, I've ended up creating a way bigger course than I ever intended to, because it's like, it's very much so. We try to make it to where you don't have to make any decisions the whole way through, because like I hate making decisions. I have to make enough decisions in my day, so I'm not going to bring on a new thing like content production if it requires me to just add more decisions to my life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what Patton has, like the structure of the boot camp, the structure of his videos are not like the Rosetta Stone of content creation, where you're like, okay, perfect, I need to spend a year and then I will be the Martin Scorsese of home inspection videos. It's, hey, here's some really good tips and tricks. Here's how you can take just a little bit of your time and create something that's really great and that's super useful in a lot of different spectrums of your marketing. And then that gives you the skills to have repeatable results, repeatable content. And I think that Patton is very generous with what he's teaching and like kind of the secrets that he's giving away of content marketing, because it really is teaching you how to fish and making it and showing you how simple it is, as opposed to, it's not. He just does a great job at showing you, giving you those tools to really simplify it so that you can do it without it taking up too much of your time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm
So
sure that so I know that you've worked with a bunch of home inspection companies and a bunch of big companies, and so I'm sure that there's some crazy stories of the impact that really honing in this digital marketing strategy has brought to their company. Do you have any good stories you could share with us today of what working with GoodBull and really honing in on this strategy has been able to do to companies?
Yeah, so I just recently filmed a testimonial with Greg Bryan. So we have a retainer with Bryan and Bryan. They're like the only company that we actually do hands-on stuff for still. Um, but I've been producing stuff for their website. They have an intern on the team who's producing like all their social media content. And so I've kind of like walked him through the process, and he's gone through like the boot camp trainings at GoodBull. And he recently created this like little series leading up to an announcement. And so it was like a video series. I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 parts, and it was like Indiana Jones theme or something. He was like kind of like always popping up, exploring new things, and it would say like, "No, not here," and then he would like go off, and that would just be the end of the video. And they posted it for like a week straight. And Greg was saying that on the final day, they like open up the box, and there's like this thing. I think the announcement was like, "We're now offering same day inspections" or something. And apparently, though, they're like within hours of posting that video, maybe within minutes, their like phones were just blowing up from realtors calling to ask for more information. And it was super cool to see how just like this guy who's like, he's in college right now becoming a teacher. And so like he's not like a film nerd, and
Yeah.
he didn't have any equipment. He was shooting this all on his phone, but he was able to just like with some simple principles like captivate an audience and like capitalize on a serious payoff that got people like excited and mobilized, which is, if you're not mobilizing the people at the end, then it's a total waste of time. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
cool to see.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that's impressive because I'm sure that didn't take too much time, and it
No.
gets the phone right. How long do you think it took to get that out there?
I would guess 6-part series. I'm guessing he spent maybe a couple hours of like going around the office and shooting all the different things and then writing the captions and posting it. Like not much time at all.
Wow. So it does go to show you that a good. So do you find that that the more natural something is as a video, the better it does, or do you? I know you personally in your style, you like to write scripts and things like that. But what do you think for a home inspector that's looking to institute this in their company? Should they be writing out scripts and figuring out shots ahead of time, or should some of the guys just be picking up a camera and walking through the house?
Yeah, so totally depends on where your strengths are. We're big on like the thing that's going to perform best is whatever you're best at, which I guess is super obvious. But if you're like not good at memorizing lines and reading off a script and delivering it naturally, then like definitely don't do that. That's going to have probably a worse effect than just not posting a video at all. It's like, whoa, who's this awkward dude? But some people can crush it, and they're like super clever and write great scripts that are like, oh, there's like an awesome punchline to this, so it totally like took it to the next level. But for the most part, I would say just like the blanket advice is be personable, and specifically like when you're creating content on the field, treating it almost like if you were to be training another inspector, like just someone kind of following you along, or almost like when you're walking the client through the house at the end. Like view the camera as just like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna provide some insight for what I'm looking at, but I'm also gonna like probably use some humor because we're relational people. And so just treating the phone that either you're holding or maybe you have a growth person behind you holding as just like a client or any person that you would walk through a house.
That's
yeah, and I think on that, like like when you're really good at something, when you're really passionate about something, when like so many of the inspectors and the like people in the industry, like they know this inside and out. And so the tool there is not to necessarily go, okay, this is what I have to say and I have to get through these points. It's just to be really natural about, hey, you're an expert in the industry, so like let's like talk about it organically. Like really, as you feel natural, it's going to feel more natural to teach people, to show people, that type of thing. And I think most people are naturally really, really funny. I haven't encountered someone that was like, oh, you have no giftings in the humor area. I think that if you're comfortable and you're having fun with it, I think it's going to create really good content. And that's what we've seen. And that's something that kind of GoodBull is really focusing on, is making sure, hey, be yourself. And that is really more than enough that you need to create good content.
Absolutely. And Patton, if anyone wants to see your videos, where should they go to look to see some of the content that you've published?
I would say to go just check us out on Facebook. You can look up GoodBull Content Co. and we've got pretty much all of our videos end up making their way through Facebook at some point. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I just want
really fun.
I want to speak to the audience on that one. Is like, if you like this conversation and you're interested to see, all right, what kind of content is Patton putting out there that Jake is so impressed by? Go check it out so you can see what kind of content that is. Maybe you'll get some ideas. But we're going to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with a couple more questions for Patton and MaryCameron at GoodBull.
So we saved well over $250K.
Just this quarter, we have saved about $30,000 in credit card fees.
Probably over $1,000 a month at least.
Over $150,000 this year alone.
$180,000 the first year we worked with them, and it's growing every single year.
Thank you, Pair Payments.
Thank you, Pair.
I would recommend them to anyone.
Yeah, just wish I would have done it sooner.
Welcome back. We are back with Patton and MaryCameron from GoodBull Content Co. And thank you very much, but they have brought a promo with them today for our audience. Patton, what is that promo?
Yeah, so we're offering a promo from Thanksgiving until the end of the year, and that's going to save you 15% on your first 3 months of your GoodBull membership. And the way you'll get that is just upon checking out, enter in Thankful15. There's just a little promo code box, and yeah, type it in there and it'll happen.
All right, Thankful15, correct?
Thankful15.
All right, and where do they go for that one more time?
So you'll just go to our website, goodbull.io, and then you go to pricing and click join now. And on the checkout page, there's a promo box to enter it in. You won't miss it.
Pretty easy. Thankful15. Go check that out. Goodbull.io. Patton knows what he's talking about. This is some great stuff that they have. And real quick, can you just mention with the membership with GoodBull that they're signing up for, I see that it says Content Creation Bootcamp, Content Creation Tools, and access to the GoodBull content community. Could you speak to that real quick? What people get when they sign up with GoodBull?
Yeah. So basically the way that those three things connect, you got Bootcamp, Tools, and Community. Bootcamp is where all of the education happens. So that's where we're teaching you hey, here's a specific type of video, how to produce it, what to do with it, how to make it unique to your company, all of that stuff. And then at the end of these boot camps, you'll receive tools, which will be along the lines of, hey, maybe here's a template for a script if we're talking about a scripted video, or here's some prompts to ask a client if you're getting a testimonial from them. So kind of specific documents that can turn knowledge into action. And then the final step of that is community. And that's where we all get together and we post our work and we provide feedback on what we're liking, what's not working so well. But on that note, we really like to focus on specifically what we do like. We're big believers in general, all about constructive criticism. But when it comes to content creation, it's not about trying to perfect the art. It's just about making it more fun and entertaining and really leaning into your strengths. So that's all about identifying, hey, this part was super funny, try to include that into more videos. Or, hey, I loved the way that you shot this part. That was actually really interesting. Do more of that.
Right.
So
it's very much a safe place.
You're arming.
It's a safe, safe place. We're not Simon Cowell. It will not be you don't get kicked out based on the quality of your content. It's very a safe place to learn and a safe place to kind of grow and get inspired.
That's great, because I'm sure a lot of people, kind of get scared to post because they do have that perfectionist mindset that I'm not posting anything until it's perfect, and then it's 5 years later and you never posted any video content because you were worried about it being perfect, right? So I know that people come on the show all the time on this podcast and say, hey, just start posting. just start getting it out there. And so if you can arm people to kind of not only get over that hump of starting to post, but getting through that learning curve really fast on how to do it, I can see that being super powerful in teaching them how to get their in-house content machine going, how to grow, how to become scalable, and all through, what I'm sure for you is a very easy and fun course to teach. You probably are very happy teaching that.
Yes. Yeah, it's a blast.
Great at it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fun stuff.
And so, Patton, I know that you have these great videos, which I've said a million times. Go check out his videos. He said they're on Facebook, so go check those out if you don't know why Patton is the expert. But as the expert in video content in this industry, Patton, what do people need to be doing now? What are people maybe lacking or not doing that's just low-hanging fruit? And I know we talked about the house as a set, basically, that's all staged for you. But I really want to leave people with actionable items today that they can turn off this podcast and they might have no clue what they're doing, never have produced video content before. But I want to give them something actionable that they can say, hey, that's something I can do today.
For sure. So I would say first order of business is to establish how often you want to be posting on social media and treating that as your religion. Don't miss that. Marketing is all about being consistent, and that's the way that you win in this day and age. So I would say set a specific frequency. I would say it completely depends on the resources you have and how quickly you want to grow and stuff, but I would say let's try to do at least posting 3 quick videos a week. And if you can stick with that and not skip a beat, then you're going to see stuff within several months. So now, what are easy ways to be capturing 3 videos a week without adding a big thing to your plate? Really focus on the content that's happening in the field. So when you're at an inspection, pull out your camera and I'll kind of give you 3 prompts to think about. So the first prompt can be just explain one of your tools. So explain hey, this is how it works. This is how I use it. This is what we did before we had this tool. I think that's super interesting. Recently, not to get on a little tangent, but I saw the tool where you throw the little thing in the microwave and run the microwave and it all starts lighting up red. And
that's awesome.
It's such a simple little tool, but a total game changer, as opposed to, I think the inspectors said they used to just put a cup of water in there and run it and then just stick their finger in the water, which is it's just super interesting, I think, seeing those little innovations of the tools that you have that help you do your job the way that you do it. Another big thing to talk about is just talking about hey, here's what I'm looking at. So if you see a crack on a wall, kind of explain, yeah, obviously there's a crack on the wall, but what are some of the potential causes of this, and what other pieces of the puzzle do I need to look at? So maybe if there's a crack on the wall here, I need to go look in the other room to see if there's any cracks over there. Or I'm going to look on the outside of the house, see if there's cracks in the brick that may be a sign of foundation issues or whatever. But really just kind of walking through your process of I think the way that y'all's minds work while you're on an inspection is super interesting. So just kind of opening the floodgates of what's going on in your head for just a certain segment of a house. And then the final thing that I would say is a good prompt to take with you on set or on inspection is talking about just a little bit of you personally. So maybe just talking about real quickly, hey, here's kind of how I got into the inspection world in the first place. Maybe here's where I see my company going. Here's the things that we're excited about in our industry, and kind of providing some insight to you personally and providing insight into the industry, because I think that the inspection industry for outsiders is pretty mysterious. Even random stuff what makes a good home inspector? What's the skill set that a home inspector needs to have?
Yeah.
I feel I couldn't have answered that question before I spent time around the inspection industry. On the outside, y'all are a very mysterious group of people. So providing insight to that will definitely draw a crowd and rack up some engagement.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think adding to that a little bit, like don't underestimate the audience that you would have. I think your
Mhm.
audience isn't just realtors, it isn't just fellow home inspectors. I mean, we with social media, we're a really curious culture, and we like to learn. I mean, my Instagram algorithm is currently, I broke it with following all these like horse farriers, and I can really go through the steps of like kind of a horse pedicurist, just based on really enjoying learning from these guys. And so I don't know if that'll be my next career, but
If this
I
doesn't work
like,
out.
hey, if this doesn't work out, honestly, maybe I'll be on the Farrier podcast next. But I think that like we've people have a really wide bandwidth for what they find interesting, what they want to learn about, what they're curious, and so providing, keeping in mind that your audience is really wide, and they don't have to be, and it's all also people, yeah, people just love to learn. And so I think that Patton does a great job at equipping people, and those are great tips on how to kind of engage the curious minds on Instagram and kind of teaching about the industry.
And I'm glad you mentioned Instagram, because my next question was going to be, what do you say to the guys who are like, I've been posting videos for years on Facebook and I've never gotten any traction? What do you say to them? Are they just posting in the wrong place and there's another app that they need to target? Or maybe is it their content? What would you say to that guy?
I would say, I mean, it's probably a case by case thing. I think
Yeah.
one of the big sections of social media that they could be not taking advantage of would be like reel style content. So like TikTok is just purely reels, but there's also Instagram reels and Facebook reels. And that's really where the algorithm can go crazy and you can get in front of a new audience to drive them to your page, where it's just about engaging your current audience. But honestly, if you're just throwing stuff up on your Instagram page and your Facebook page, you're not likely to just like have hordes of people come flocking towards you. So that could definitely be a
So
potential reason.
So that's the trick. You not only have to think about what app am I sharing it on, but also, what kind of content within that app, because now you have reels. And so when you think about that, and someone might ask themselves, how do I know which app to post on, what reels to do? Would you recommend just testing it, or are there other ways to know kind of, where your ideal customer is, your ideal audience for that?
So one kind of approach to take is you're going after, for the most part, inspection companies are going after agents, and just look at where you're seeing them post, because where they're posting is also probably where they're going to be viewing content. So if you're seeing a lot of their stuff in your area on Instagram reels, then post your stuff on Instagram reels. Get side by side with wherever they are.
Absolutely. And so I'm sure that if you're posting where they're posting, you're going to stick out. But is there anything that you've noticed inspectors have been able to do to really grab the attention of agents? Because I'm sure if you're talking to a homeowner versus an agent, there might be a little bit different content. Have you seen anyone differentiate that and figure out how to target each?
Yeah, so all of the companies that I've worked with, honestly, have been agent-focused companies as far as their marketing plan. And so their big thing really is all about relationships and education. So if you can provide education to a realtor, they will often, because they need to know what you're doing so they convey that to their clients. So they actually see a lot of value in explaining, hey, here's what a home inspector does. And even like random tips like, hey, we're about to have a freeze, here's how to make sure your pipes don't burst. Like random house hacks like that is a good way to get agents to like reshare your content and view you as like, oh, you're a valuable resource. So I would say if you can educate them, and then also entertaining them is just like how you create that personal relationship. Similar to what I was saying earlier about like doing dad joke Fridays, like stuff like that is a great way to stay top of mind with realtors, so that when it comes time to give a recommendation or two to their client, they're thinking about you and not someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would also say to that, like remembering that your Facebook page, your Instagram page, and keeping those up to date is a way to establish yourself in the community and to give clout. I think one of the first things we do with businesses when we're introduced to a new business of any variety is to go, are they on social media? Okay, can I trust them? And it establishes a sense of trust. It establishes a sense of interest when you see that someone has an active social media basis. So I think that being viral, being shareable is definitely top priority. And then also establishing your clout in the industry, establishing that you are an expert in the industry is is also a great use for your social media pages.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of if a home inspection business owner on this podcast knows what clout means or not, just think of it like this: if you need you need to be the to verify yourself, you need the social proof, so people are like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like Patton was saying earlier too, you have equipment that you can be like, hey, this is what this equipment does. How cool is this? And some of the equipment does look really cool. Like there's some really cool stuff. So not only is that cool content that'll stop someone and maybe make them look and you get their attention, they're watching the video, but now you're positioning yourself as an expert. And whether or not you think you're the expert on something, to the layman, you totally look like an expert while you're talking about that specific tool and what you can do with it. So absolutely do that to get the clout, to verify yourself in everyone else's eyes. I love that. It's such a good way to build authority in your like online community or whoever you're targeting in your market. Like that's a great idea.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like as far as like how MaryCameron was saying, people will go check out your social media to like verify whether you're legit or not. Yeah. Like this is not me by any means. I don't do this, but my wife, like if we're looking for restaurants, she doesn't even like use Google. She goes to like social media to find restaurants and figure out what their menus are and all that stuff. And it's like, it's pretty crazy how that's like her go-to almost search engine now. And I think that more and more like the new top performing realtors out there are like in the same demographic as my wife, like these mid-20s, early 30s. And they're like, this is the way that they're finding brands and interacting with them is on social media. So if you're not only not on there, but not consistently posting and holding a strong presence, like you definitely don't want someone showing up and seeing you haven't posted in 4 months. Because when you see that with the company, like there's obviously a million reasons you might not have posted in the past few months, but like people will actually think you're out of business. They must be out of business. They haven't posted in a few months. I'm not even going to call them.
Right.
Wow. So I'm sure do you have people come to you that haven't posted in months and then they start posting and their business just takes off? Or is it one of those things that people who come to you in GoodBull are coming to you because they're already into the content stuff and they know the value of it? But I'm just curious if you have even seen that people take off when they start posting.
So I don't have any stories like that right now. Yeah. We did have a guy just sign up like last week who has not posted on social media in several months, like what I was just describing. So I'm super interested to see what his metrics are going to look like 6 months, a year from now.
Be a cool case study.
I'll be back in a year and let you know.
Yeah. Well, much shorter than that, Patton. We're definitely going to have you back on way more often than that. This has been a fantastic episode so far. Is there anything I forgot to ask today, or is there anything we want to leave the audience before we wrap today?
I would just say, like, reiterate, you gotta just get started and you gotta be consistent. So, like, don't worry about making a Oscar-worthy video. Just go start shooting stuff in your day-to-day life. Don't spend too much time on it. Don't be held back by trying to be perfect, and just start posting every week. Be consistent, and you're gonna see stuff.
That's great. MaryCameron, anything you'd like to leave us with today?
That is a great question. I mean, just kind of reiterating everything that we've said. I think that you're talking to home inspectors, your expertise in the industry is permission for you to teach. And I think that people really love to learn. And we've said that again and again, but I think that there's so much room on the social media platforms to engage with your audience and kind of teach them, giving yourself social proof and kind of validity to or credibility to what you're doing. And so I think that do not underestimate your audience's interest in what you're doing. And so I think that that is very important to remember.
Yeah. Also, if anyone's looking, if anyone has like a 4-year-old child who they want to teach how to do prank calls, hit MaryCameron up because she'll do that.
Yeah, I definitely. I'm not currently actively babysitting for several reasons, partly because of Patton and probably the terrible things that my 11-year-old self taught him or allowed him to do, and so. But yes, I can raise up your child to be an excellent prank caller, and so if you're looking for that. That is a skill I'm just passing down to the next generation.
Was it you guys that prank called me this weekend?
I actually
we can't say.
Did do a prank call last week, but it was not to you, Jake. So you're safe for now.
Someone prank called me this week. At least I hope it was a prank call because I was laughing during the call, saying that they heard me from the podcast. They were asking if Jake was a stage name or if it was my real name. I don't know what was going on,
Whoa.
So we're going to gloss over that.
I appreciate that they were like, Jake is way too exotic of a name for this to be your given name.
Like
that is
the most popular name the year I was born, by the way. But,
right.
So, I don't know. There was a fake accent going on, and I was just like, is this serious? I didn't know who it was, what was going on. But now I'm thinking maybe it was Patton because of what his babysitter taught him back in the day.
Yeah.
If it was me, you wouldn't have known it was a prank call, though. MaryCameron,
right. Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's the true test of a criminal, is that you want them, of a prank call criminal, is that you want is believability is really it. And I just want to, make sure everyone remembers this, me being Patton's babysitter is not as sketchy as it sounds. And if I can give him any credibility, still hanging out with him. So,
well, yeah, actually, you know what? Just because we have MaryCameron here, before we go, I want to ask one more question. How early did Patton have a camera in his hand? Did you know he was going to be into the media and camera stuff early? Was he always running around with a camera?
Man, this is a perfect opportunity for me to go, since he was like 6 weeks old. But Patton was always like very much a performer and like very much, I think that like because our age difference was so small, I think that Patton and I were just kind of like best buds. Like, I remember taking like, I'm trying to think if, he was always very much a performer, very creative, very imaginative. Like it was just really, really fun. He was a really fun kid to babysit and to be kind of best buds with. And so it's not surprising to me. I think Patton is this incredible mix of entrepreneurial fun and an incredible, content creator. And so his skill set is annoying. That's what I can say.
Well,
it's too many talents.
Well, I do want to say, just to reiterate to anyone in the audience, if you want to work with someone as fun and as good at this stuff as Patton, go to GoodBull.io, and right on the website it says, achieve scalable growth by learning to produce in-house content. Go check that out. Use the promo code. What was that? Thankful15?
Yes, Thankful15.
All right, on his website, and we will be back with Patton again for more episodes down the line. But thank you so much, both of you, Patton, MaryCameron. Thank you for coming on today and having a great time with me.
Thanks so much.
Sharing some great info.
It was fun.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks so much, Jake. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you, most importantly, thank you to the audience for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. But as always, the most important thing you can do is share this podcast with someone that you know it could help grow their home inspection business as well. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. We have a great roster of guests, so stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pros Podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.